Hello everyone, welcome to our next time of learning. So here in this video, we are going to look into the eighth part. There is a final part under the concept of development and its relationship with learning. Okay, so we are seeing the child development pedagogy paper 1 and paper 2 for CTET and state TET exam, that is your TN TET exam. So under this, we'll be discussing the heredity and environment today. All these concepts are being done, and this video will focus more on the concept of heredity and environment. So when you talk about heredity, we know that heredity, it is nothing but it is called as genetics. Okay, genetics, you can compare it with heredity. So heredity are traits which are got from our ancestors through something called as genes. Okay, we get our traits from the ancestors, and whatever we get, it is being influenced, or it is being affected, it is being transformed by the environment, so which is going to have a role in the growth and development of an individual. That is what we'll be seeing here. So when you talk about heredity, we need to know how the mechanism of heredity happens in a human body. In a human body, we have the 23 pairs of chromosomes. That means there are 46 chromosomes. Okay, so in that 23 pairs, we are able to see that there are 22 pairs called the autosomes and one pair called the allosomes or the sex chromosomes, which determine the gender of the child. Okay, this is responsible for the gender of the child. If it is going to be a Y chromosome, then it is going to be a male child, because this will be X. So along with X, if you have a Y, then it is going to be a male child. If it is going to be both X, then it is going to be a female child. Now, this process of heredity happens like this. So, a female will have both X chromosomes, and a male will always have an X and a Y chromosomes. So, in that case, depending on the fertilization, if the X and the X of the male are going to be fertilized, then it is going to be a female child. If there is going to be one X and one Y, then that is going to give rise to a male child or a male offspring. This is the process of heredity. Now, when we talk about all these, we need to learn little more about this heredity, and for that, we all would have heard about a person called Mendel. Okay, he is nothing but he is no one other than Gregor Johann Mendel, G.J. Mendel. Okay, so he is called as the father of genetics, and he gave three laws of inheritance. He gave three laws of inheritance, which we are here called referring it to as heredity. Okay, so in that law of inheritance, the first one is called the law of dominance, and law of independent assortment, and law of segregation. We are going to see all these three in detail to understand about how the genes are being transmitted from one generation to the next. The first one is the law of heredity, is the law of dominance. Okay, law of dominance says that so whichever gene is going to be dominant, that is going to be reflected. Okay, so here if here he is considered, Mendel has conducted all his experiments on the peace plant only. Okay, now if you are going, he is going to consider the peace plant, which is going to be green in color. He considers D as dominant for the green color and small d as the recessive, which is going to be the yellow color. So in that case, when there are going to be two things, okay, here we call something as phenotype and genotype. Okay, so genotype is the trait determined by the gene. Okay, and phenotype is what is physically visible. So what I can see, that is called as genotype, physically visible. I am able to see physically, PH you can remember, physical, genotype. Okay. So in that case, here you are able to see that here when we have this genotype and phenotype, when you see that it is going to be both as capital G, that is both as dominant, it is automatically going to be the green. Here the capital G is there, small g is there. You already have one dominant. So automatic this recessive will lose its power. So the yellow will not come, only the green will be coming here. The next one you can see here, again the same thing is happening. One capital G and one small g. Here when you have both a small g, then automatically there is an absence in the dominant. So automatically only the recessive trait is being seen, because here the dominance is only the recessive trait, whereas here the dominance is the genotypic trait. Okay, that is the dominance is the green color. That is why we are getting the piece to be in green color. This is the first law, called as the law of dominance. The second one is the law of heredity. So in this law of heredity, what is happening is, so when you have this, the parents generation, the first generation will be, so you have round and yellow. He took round and yellow seeds and some seeds which were green and which were wrinkled. Okay. So when these two were being paired, what happened is, see this, from these two, one R came, okay, and then from these two, one small r came, and from here one capital Y, and from here one small y. So this is what we got in the F1 generation. Now, when these two, that is in the F1 generation, are being paired, now see, when it is capital R and small r, the dominance is only capital R. So it is only a round. Okay. And capital Y and small y, here again capital Y is yellow, because capital R is round, capital Y is yellow. So automatically small r is wrinkled and small y is green. Okay. So that is what we are able to see here. So when you are able to see, you are able to get the F2 generation. So here you are going to see that it is nothing but the law of independent assortment. Here we are able to see that there is a distribution of the pair of traits wherein it does not disturb the other pair of traits. Okay, here that will not disturb the other, because round is one individual pair, here it is another individual pair, so independently they are being available. Okay. So in that we are able to see that this F1 and F2 generation are also independent. Okay, the same thing need not be repeated, there might be a mixing also. That is what we are able to see. Next, law of segregation. Okay, so law of segregation, when we see, we are able to see that two copies of gene will be seen. See here, so the two copies of gene separate and end up in different gametes. You are able to see there are three things. See, so yellow, blue and green. But see how we are getting the gametes. We are able to see that the gametes will be a mixture of all these things. Okay. Third law of inheritance says that although the alleles of a cat remain together for a long time, they do not mix. Okay, they do not mix, and you'll be able to see that one allele of a trait will always be there. So possible gametes, you are getting it from all the three. Okay, so they do not mix with each other, they are, and they separate during the formation of genes, like they don't mix with these two. Okay, they are being different by, because one we are getting from each color. Okay, that is the law of segregation, everything is being separated and we are getting different offsprings. Okay, so this is all with respect to heredity. Now coming into the environment, as we said in the beginning, so the traits which are inherited are being affected by the environment. So in that case, what are the factors? The first one is physical dissimilarities. So there is a lot of difference between the learners, between the children. Okay, so in that case, that physical difference will bring an impact. For example, if the child is very short, okay, and if the child's peers are all little tall, the child gets into some kind of training and the child tries to increase his or her height, then that is going to be one dissimilarity, like which was different through the genes but being changed. Likewise, superiority of races. Okay, in that case also there will be a difference. Similarly, when we talk about the effect on personality, okay, so how your personality, you're being an introvert or an extrovert, or how you well do you get along with people, all those things. Similarly, in the mental growth, okay, it gets changed depending on the people with whom we interact. The final thing is like environment's multiple effects on the growing children. Okay, see, even nutritional deficiency, you have various forces like physical, moral, social, cultural, economical. All these factors have their own impact on the development of the child. So now this role of hereditary environment, we can bring it on two simple words called nature and nurture. So nature, it deals with the heredity, Okay, and nurture, it deals with the environment, how you are being nurtured in the society, that will have a different impact. Likewise, how do you bring it into education? See, we are getting into a class of diverse learners. So, in that case, as teachers, what do we need to do? We need to cater to the various needs of learners. So, you cannot be biased. Okay, you need to address the problems of all the learners. For that, every educator or every teacher needs to have the knowledge of their heredity and the environment. Only then we'll be able to meet the needs and abilities. Okay, and the next one is, when we understand all these, we'll be able to provide a congenial environment. Okay, we need to provide them a good environment where they'll be able to get along with their peers without any differences. So that can be done in a better way by organizing extracurricular activities, so wherein you don't stop only with the curricular, so they get along, they get to know about their peers a little more, they know a little more beyond their books. So with all these, it will be easy for the children to develop and to grow well with the changes in the environment. So the knowledge of both heredity and environment is very important for the teachers as well as for the educationalist, so that we'll be able to bring the educational outcome into an efficient way. Okay, so this is all regarding the first unit, that is your child development, first unit of child development and pedagogy. Hope you all have understood it. See you again with another concept, another video. Thank you, everyone.